I'm John Nichol. I joined the Royal Air Force in 1981, and I watched as the Falklands War unfolded on my TV screens. And I remember thinking back then, as many service people did, what would it be like to go to war for real? Well, the men who fought in that conflict found out all too soon just about the brutal reality of modern warfare. In the final days of the war, the Scots Guards were tasked to attack Mount Tumbledown as part of the final push towards Port Stanley. I'm joined today by some of the survivors of that battle, men who truly can say, we were there. On the 13th of June 1982, the mission facing the 2nd Battalion of Scots Guards was a daunting one, to assault and capture Mount Tumbledown. The last obstacle between the advancing British forces and Port Stanley. The Argentinians had positioned their best men here, 700 troops from the elite 5th Marines who were well armed and well dug in. To confuse the enemy, the Scots Guards would launch a diversionary attack south of Tumbledown. The main attack would then be in 3 phases. The men of G Company would be first away from their start line, followed into Tumbledown by left flank and then right flank company. Guardsman Alan Rutherford was selected to join the diversionary attack, along with Gary Nicholson. Guardsman Frank Gilchrist was with G Company. Guardsman Robert Ozzy Osborne was with left flank company. Fighting alongside each other with right flank company were Lieutenant Robert Lawrence and Lance Sergeant Danny McDermott. By the time the Scots Guards reached the Falkland Islands, there had already been heavy loss of life on both sides. Before being pitched into battle, some would witness the single biggest loss of life suffered by the British during the whole conflict. So you land at Bluff Call just before Sir Galahad is hit. Now, I watched those images in the aftermath on TV, but presumably you watched this happening in front of you.
Yeah, we run down once it had been hit, and we helped get the 2 Welsh Guards who were badly burned off the rice rafts into the sheep pens.
We're lucky in a way because it could have been us.
Yeah.
And the Welsh Guards coming off and me, we stuck there and everyone else. Fate has its makeup.
Yeah.
Well, somebody the night before just decided to shove us on Intrepid and go round. Instead of
That's
putting
the
us on
kind of the
guard.
curious fate of warfare.
Absolutely, yeah. Our boss wanted us off that ship. He knew we should be on that ship. We were uncomfortable being on it.
We're not sailors for a start.
And so, I mean, I think it was 51 died on Galahad. I mean, that was a shocking moment of the war for those of us witnessing back home. I mean, did you watch it and see it going on as well? Did those images affect you?
You see them things, you look at it going, well, it's not me.
Right.
I'm still here, I've got a job to do.
And your job to do there and then. You know, these guys are hurt. You go into your career mode. You go and help them. You do what you need to do. You're not sitting there going, oh my goodness.
Right.
You start giving sympathy, John, and everyone else, you lose the plot.
Well, I was reconnaissance platoon. We were actually further inland, so we weren't near the cove at all. The first thing we knew about it was the Argentine aircraft flying over.
Yeah.
There was no air raid warning, red, or anything like that. I just heard these aircraft coming over, looked up, it's the Argentine aircraft.
And the operating procedure when you've got that happening is that the battalion puts up, in theory, a curtain of lead, as you will know.
Tell me, mate.
And I think we fired 18,000 rounds or something, apart from my orderly who fired 1 round. And I said to him, well, what the hell are you doing? And he said, well, I got him.
Let's talk about the night of the 13th and into the 14th of June. So at first there was going to be a diversionary attack.
There were a couple of phases. First phase, diversion, then the mountain divided into 3 thirds. The first one taken by G Company, the second one taken by left flank, and the third one taken by right flank, with our limits of exploitation and crossing a start line in an absolutely classic night assault, which is what was so bizarre. This was classic warfare training. This was against an enemy with fast air, artillery, mortars, etc.
we weren't going across Wembley Stadium in bright sunlight, nice and flat. We were going over peat bog, up a mountain, although I didn't realise how big it was until I went back years later. This round's coming out, you were in the middle of one of, I think you said it was one of the worst storms they'd had.
It was I think it was one of the worst winters they've had recorded since the records began.
Alan, as you're at the start point, as you're waiting to move off, in those first moments, in those first minutes after you move forward and before the first shots are fired, can you describe the scene?
Very cold, very wet, rugged. It's eerie. You're going up against an enemy who is, well, good arms, good training. They're comfortable in the little holes they're hiding in, and you've got to go and prize them out here. You start moving up a mind, all your senses start coming alive. Your field craft, your movement, you're going through your mind how you're going to approach this. There's so much happening in your mind that's racing all the time. What if this happens? What if this happens? What should I do here? It's just classic infantry training, and you're running through your procedures all the time.
And Gary, as you're advancing forward in those first phases of that diversionary attack, your thoughts, your emotions?
I was quite anxious, knowing that we were moving forward and we were going to come into contact. No doubt about it, we weren't going away until we did. Moving forward, and I mean, you could hear the ground crisp underneath, and you could hear the artillery as well, which was bombarding Tumbledown. And just moving forward, and then, God knows, I don't know how long we've been on the advance for, then star shells went up. And you've probably got a split second between the pop and the light illuminating. So we were hitting the ground, you know. And I was sucking snow. I thought, what am I doing here? How did I get myself in this situation, you know? But we just, more than that, we just moved on until we actually came up upon the enemy position, you know.
And you almost happened upon the enemy, so you were actually looking for it.
Yeah, 1 minute it wasn't there, and then it was. We were so close on it because we couldn't get there was no depth of vision. We didn't know.
It's as if they were sitting there with wee tele lamps and everything else,
you know,
and themselves, everyone else on reading the newspaper. I think
we
they
were so
knew
close,
something was going on and they were expecting it.
very close. I mean, to the point where we were on them and there was fire coming down.
And did it just happen in an instant? The first shots rang out?
Yes. As soon as the first shot rang out, then more shots started coming. We were in the front of the Sangers, so we were taking quite a pounding. And the whole idea is get as much rounds into that enemy as you can.
Return the fire,
You
win
know,
the fire, win the fire.
get rounds in there. I mean, 7.62 GPMG, you're firing vast amount of weaponry into rounds into that. It will rip some to bits.
And the scene, a night scene, star shells, rounds going down, what does it look like?
Well, it depends whether you're seeing it. I had a night sight, so everything I was seeing through that night sight was green, or very shades of green.
Yeah, it would have been great. Part of the fear was that, you know, for instance, contrary to what the public have heard about conscripts and things like that, they were from a military junta. They had backing. They had a decent financial package backing them. They had American night sights. So when you're approaching and you've discovered they've got American night sights, as I did when I came across some of their tents and found the empty cases, boxes that they bring them in, you don't know. Any second, something can come out of nowhere. And when you think that the round that hit me, if it was fired at me from 50 metres away, it's hit me a second before you would hear the weapon fire it. A full second before you'd hear it fire. So you're not going to do anything. You're just going to go down.
And Gary, the scene in those first few seconds as that diversionary attack opened up?
Well, as we were advancing, we came up to like a ridge, well, about 3 feet high. And at that point, we all got down and the drill sergeant went forward. I'd look over the ridge and then a round rang out and he dropped back down, and that was the initial contact. That's when everything all just fire just opened up. Everybody just fanned out onto the position, you know. So we were literally, I went forward to look after the drill sergeant, and we were literally 2 feet from the Argentine position. We might have been 3 feet further down, but we were that close, you know. And I worked on the drill sergeant for a while, and there was just no response. You know, so he was my first dead casualty.
Alan, you were almost in the same place as well.
Yeah, I was only about 4 or 5 feet away. My number 2 got shot, and he started making a lot of noise, as you would do, which wasn't good because he was bringing down additional fire. So, you know, I had to roll away from him because I had to.
Self-preservation.
Well, I needed to get fire down. I had a job to do, and I couldn't have him bringing fire down upon me. He'd put a gun out of action. If you put a gun out of action, you're looking at trouble. He can be sorted. We can go back to him.
Is it quite cold then in battle? If somebody drops next to
Ruthlessly
you,
cold, you mean?
Slums
Yeah.
the
yeah,
street.
ruthless, you've got to just leave the casualties and fight on.
And it's about momentum.
Yeah.
If you get stopped and pinned down, then you've got to win that firefight. You've got to regain momentum. You can't just sit back and stop. You cannot do it.
And Gary, I think you were the medic, is that right?
I was the one of the medics.
So presumably you're trying to treat these casualties, is it?
Yeah, and it's not like being in a classroom doing your first aid. Like I said, it was pitch black, all hell's breaking out all around you. You're trying to, you're basically, you're just feeling for gunshots or whatever. You're just feeling the body, you know.
This is a real eye-opening, brutal reality of what this is all going to be like.
Yeah.
Had you expected it to be like this?
No, not as much as that. They expected to be in contact and a firefight, but to come across, have 2 dead casualties within the first like half an hour of the battle, you know, and I started thinking then had I done enough, had I listened to all the training, and the guilt kicks in then, you know. But that was that part of the battle.
Exclusive ad. Real stories from the front line.
It just came in wave after wave. You hear them all around being fired, there's nothing worse than wondering where it's going to land. I realised there's more Taliban than we perhaps thought. And then that was it, the whole city just kicked off.
The whole world opened up around us. We were fired on from all sides. Andy McNabb's Tour of Duty, Thursdays at 10 on Forces TV.
As a diversionary attack raged south of Tumbledown, the Scots Guards made ready for their main assault. 3 Para had already taken Mount Longdon, another strategic high point around the capital of Port Stanley. But for the 2nd Battalion of Scots Guards, perhaps the toughest target lay ahead. The battle for Mount Tumbledown, where the Argentinians had placed some of their best troops. Frank, you are next into the fray with G Company, so what was it? What did you see from your perspective as you set off?
I remember advancing in the pitch black, because you couldn't see this in front of you. And I never saw any star shells, it was just a mortar straight away. We started getting the mortar, and our sergeant told us to head for the bottom tunnel. And then I can remember being in a sort of gully, like middle bit. And I couldn't even hear any shots being fired or anything. At one point, this sergeant in mine says, and it was meant to be a machine gun. He says, just go out, and my night 6 didn't work. So I kind of crept out with an arm too. Switched the night, nothing. crept back in and said, the nice sides from one says, but just use the how do you call them? The hard sides. Iron sides. And if you see tracer, aim at the bottom of the tracer. So I'm all ready for waiting for this tracer, and waiting, and then get called back in again. But we did have 2 casualties, and I was left taking care of one.
Ozzy, I think you're in the left flank.
Yeah.
In the under, is it Major John Kisley?
Yeah.
Is that right? So you're moving forward through their position.
Well, they reached their limit of exploitation, and then we went through and there was 10, 15 feet, all of a sudden all holy hell let loose.
When you say all hell let loose, what does that mean?
Well, literally, from dead quiet to all of a sudden you got rounds going past you, mortars, artillery, grenades, whatever else is being thrown at us, hitting the rocks, and you see, in some cases, you're seeing bits of rock, glowing rock flying everywhere. Oh, you know, keep flipping going. What happened with our piece, we started on the south slope, the 2 I was with, we went round onto the north face of the tumble down, and then up onto the heights.
But even when you say on the north face, this is not, you're not running up a gentle hill here. I've been there, I did 2 tours of the Falklands, and I walked the battlefield that you guys fought on. It is almost impossible to walk it in the day in beautiful weather.
Correct.
And you guys fought it.
Correct.
I mean, the boulders, I mean, can you describe the terrain, what it was like?
It's the jagged granite boulders, and that causes a number of issues. You can break your legs, you can fall off the bloody things and die just trying to cut across it. It means that artillery rounds and mortar rounds can do a couple of things. They can land in the peat and bury themselves, or they can hit a rock and cause massive disaster. The Argentinian positions were well built, well concealed. The nature of the land there, as you know, means that these granite cliffs and crags will drive you into funnels of land. You know, when you go towards a set of craggy rods, there are, if you can find them at night, places where you can get through and places where you can't get through. If you're a defending force, you put your machine guns covering the places where you can get through and where you're going to be, where the enemy, or in our case us, are going to be funneled into what you call a killing zone. And that's what we entered, killing zones.
You had a damn lucky escape. What happened to you, Ozzy, in the final moments?
We finished, well, left flank finished their part. Well, we didn't finish our part. We went as far as we were going, and then we provided support for right flank to come up and start theirs. We had casualties. We started to ship them back. I asked the company commander, you know, what do you want me to do? You know, John Gisley, act as a screen, provided security. We went so far back, and one of the lads said, you know, crikey, you know, no one's gone dead. Swap over. All right, we stopped. He came out. Right, that's what you're covering, that area. I went in, slung my rifle, picked up the stretcher. 2.5, 3 seconds later, whoomp, you know, hang on, why am I looking at the sky? Busted ankle, no problem. My piece of shrapnel in my thigh, I've got a problem. That was it. It was just, didn't hear him, didn't see him. It was that quick.
And the people who you were placed on a stretcher?
The person I swapped with was killed outright. I was wounded. The guy in front, who I joined up with, he had swapped with a lad. The lad he swapped with was killed outright. He was injured. The 2 lads who we swapped with, I was front left of the back stretcher. The lad I joined up with was back left of the front stretcher. 2 guys that came out were both killed. Both of us were injured.
Fine line.
Second.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Well, no, right place, right time for me. Thank you very much. I mean, 2.5 foot from, I don't know, it was an 81 or a 120 mortar. I'm still here.
Gary and Alan, you're still out at the diversionary attack and you're trying to withdraw now. And obviously you're trying to bring your casualties out with you because you've got a number of casualties. And you hit a minefield. Can you explain what happened in those stages when you were trying to withdraw?
Well, on the withdrawal, we moved back for about 10 minutes or so, and then the Argentines started following up. We went back into their own position and started following us up. So we were taking fire from behind us, and then shortly after that we started taking mortar rounds. We thought things were bad, and then probably a minute or so later, one of the lads stepped on an anti-personnel mine. So we ended up in the middle of the minefield, being mortared and being shot at.
I mean, but you're in this minefield with mortar coming down, incoming fire.
Mhm. Yeah. Everything that's getting thrown at you from them, you're getting at that
Anything was
time.
dropping short from us as well.
You can't get away from it.
There's no protection.
There's
open ground.
There is no such thing as the
No.
index, but we're not playing anymore.
No, this is coming down, and you're taking casualties, and there's nothing you can do. Nothing. You're open to these weapons.
And you actually say that you're going to get through the minefield, you're going to follow a path.
I took the bear.
What's it about?
took the bear, and I had him in my inside jacket, and
So this went to the Battle of Tumbledown.
Oh yeah. This was our mascot. I carried it with us at all times, and when we were going through the minefield,
Always thought you were a nutter, was it?
I had this out in front of us, and I was running like a lunatic.
So you're in the minefield, and you say you're going to get out. So how do you go about getting your path out of the minefield in the dark?
All I did was told the lads behind us to follow me in the bear. I'm running, you follow. So I went ahead and just run through until we got to a clear area, and then everybody else followed us
Did the
behind.
bear lead the way?
Bear led the way. Yeah, it was a good morale thing as well, because lads are wounded and they're not feeling particularly well.
Yeah.
So anything that's a morale booster is great, because morale is 90% the soldier.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was an unmarked minefield anyway, so we didn't
Yeah.
know where we'd actually gone through it.
So what was the first indication that you were in a minefield?
The mine went up,
Yeah.
Keep going.
you know. And the only time we knew we were out of it is when we hit the road and met up with the household division tanks.
Yes, at the household division.
Is there a sense of relief and almost sense of survival?
No, what senses have you got is to reorganize.
The biggest danger with Tumbledown for the Brits, in full stop, was that if we hadn't completed taking that mountain by that next morning, we would have been in direct line of sight from all the Argentinian artillery in Stanley. And they would have sat in Stanley and called down very accurate fire on us with their artillery. So it was essential that this mountain was taken, and taken completely.
With the dead and injured mounting on both sides, the final phase of the attack on Tumbledown was about to get underway. For around 5 hours, 3 platoons of Argentinian mortarmen, machine gunners and riflemen had pinned the British down. Facing a terrifying barrage, the Scots Guards prepared to storm the mountain top. When you set off, I think 6 a.m, I think your team set off, what was one of the first things that you saw as you were advancing forward?
I saw a marked position with a SLR stuck in the ground, and that bothered me.
A point where a body or somebody fallen.
I didn't get to see it. You know, it was still pretty damn dark when we started moving. So there was a sort of relief and a surge. Thank God we're moving up to do
As
this.
you're going forward as well, Dan, you said it looked like it's like being in a movie. Can you describe that scene?
It's a few people that know me have been in it a few times. It's like being intoxicated. You're that far gone, and everyone else you're looking at a different world. You're trying to keep your senses together. You want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. you're saying the right thing to you guys and everything else, and they're following you because they're looking for leadership. If you're not going to move, they're not going to move.
Absolutely. And you're going to have to assess what's going on. Where are the members of left flank? Where are the enemy? Where are the other members of your company that are being moved forward? You've got to try and do this assessment. And as I said earlier, my one aim was not to regret having not done something. So this is my chance as a platoon commander and Danny's chance as a non-commissioned officer to lead our guys and do our job. Here we go. Game on.
And that advance to contact, those initial shots, describe that so that I can understand what it's like as part of a classic infantry battle.
It's like being punched. Through the training and everything else, down at Bretton, you get the cracking thump. You hear the crack of the rifle, the crack of the round that's going above you, and then you hear the thump from where it's been fired from. But it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen because you're that close. It's like the guys were saying earlier on, you're in the face, John. You've no time for cracking something over. You're too busy looking, seeing, and you've got to remember by this time, it's almost becoming dawn. And we're looking and going, this is going to be daylight shortly. We've still got a good couple of 100 yards to go before we get to the end of our objective. And you've just got to get through it.
And as far as we could tell, now I can't answer this, but as far as we could tell, the positions that we were coming forward to engage were the very positions that had managed to hold off, a Scots Guards rifle company in the form of left flank. So they were obviously a good position.
This isn't just the odd shot ringing out.
No.
So what's it like? Robert, tell me what it is like. You're assaulting one of the machine gun positions. What's it like?
Okay, if I went and got the current weapons, which are 5.56, and fired it in this room, we'd all stand there and go, well, that's pretty loud. If I went and got the kind of weapons that we used in our day and sprayed it in this room, the whole of Pall Mall would come to a halt. Right? It is loud. It is, everything is, there are empty cases flying out of these weapons. There are bullets coming out the front of them. There are bits flying off where the bullets hit. And that's just one weapon. You now times this by however many the enemy's got and however many we've got. You then bring in artillery shells coming in from ships, which are huge. You bring in artillery shells coming in from the Argentinians, 155s. You bring in British artillery shells. Then you bring in mortar shells. Now you add grenades to it. Let's add some anti-tank rockets in the form of 84s. Let's add some anti-tank rockets in the form of 66s, disposable ones. So, if you want to, you build this concerto, and then you start with an SLR, and you work your way up. 10 SLRs, 20, 30 SLRs, add some FNs, add some GPMGs, add some,
It's not your Saturday night disco.
Is that you remember that as a movie type battle, full on?
And you've got to move through it. You've got to. There's no point. You cannot stop and go, my God, and try and assess.
You can't.
We've been told to move forward now. We get up and we move forward. We first came up and joined the remains of left flank, and one platoon of right flank went in to add fire support with them. At that point, we were informed that it looked like there was a potential approach route onto the enemy that went down the right-hand side, and that we should go and do what was called a classic platoon or company attack, where we go off to one side, and when we're far enough and opposite them, we turn and come up and attack them. We did that. That in itself was the major part of our battle. And we were laying down fire into Argentinians who were running away to make bloody sure that they didn't turn around and counterattack. That was the danger, the potential counterattack. And I can remember thinking, this is a bit odd. I'm firing at guys who are running away in the distance. This is a very different game than that of the perfectly directed, even Saving Private bloody Ryan or whoever. This is just gutter fighting. This is not Queensberry rules. This is gutter fighting. And then I saw Stanley, and I saw the lights on in Stanley, and I thought, what's that about? Because one expected it to be like the UK in the Second World War, blacked up. but it wasn't, because of course we couldn't reach them with any aircraft. The next thing that happened was I got a smash in the back of the head, and I thought, what was that? Because it seemed very broad. It seemed to hit from the shoulders right to the top of the head, and I just went down, and numerous things go through your head. I thought, no one will know where I've gone down in between these rocks, this heather and stuff. I'll just be lying there.
That's called a bullet.
Yeah, it was called a bullet, but I didn't think it was a bullet, because I thought that seemed to. I thought maybe it's a bit of shrapnel that just smacked me. I didn't even know it penetrated. And it was only when Danny got to me that I realised, as I started feeling the blood running into my ears and the blood ran into my eyes, that I'd obviously been penetrated.
Who knows
whether
a bit of man?
Why? It's best person to shoot guys. Whether it was around from our guys behind us, whether it was around from the Argentinians, I think I believe for a little, or I've always believed and said that I ran past an Argentinian. Whether that's the case or not is irrelevant, because the bottom line is we're doing our job as soldiers, and these things happen.
And Danny, when you get to Robert, what do you see? What's your image of when you get alongside him?
He's lying flat out, back of his head's lying wide open, and he's screaming like the proverbial stuck pig. And he's saying, get the choppers in. I said, where if the radio's working? He goes, we've been there for the best part now in 12 hours. They've been chucking it down and everything else, and there was just no comms.
Nothing worked.
Jackie Oakes, who was over the pipe sergeant, who's also a medic, helped us patch up his head. We then started getting heavy shell. Now, only for the grace of God, because it was soft peak where we were, I'm saying to myself, well, if we take cover and leave him there, or if we try and drag him across there, but by that time it was too late, just laying top and everything else, but by the grace of God, the rounds came in, and because it was peak, they just went, I don't know, see the smoke coming out and everything else, and I'm going, close. If it hit me, he's saying bye-bye at the same time. But it didn't.
Robert, you're eventually evacuated. Do you end up at Fitzroy at the
Green life-saving machine.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure which one I was taken to. I mean, all I know is that Sammy Drennan, an ex-sergeant in the Scots Guards, by then a captain in the Army Air Corps, which is a sort of equivalent rank, let's be honest.
I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear that.
Came in and did his job and did it amazingly well.
under fire?
Under fire.
I mean, when you get finally to the casualty station, are they expecting you to survive from that injury?
No, they do triage, and that's what they have to do. What is the point in spending 5 hours working on me and losing 4 guys in the meantime?
So they just left you?
Yeah, put it at the back of the queue. 8.5 hours at the back of the queue. Kept on sitting up and moaning, as Danny knows I'm very good at doing.
Frank,
You've got a training bill for you later.
Frank, as the battle's drawing to a close, they're bringing casualties off the hill, and I think you're helping with one of the stretchers. What happens there?
Yeah, so a drill sergeant. I saw 2 guardsmen with somebody that were struggling coming up a small. But them, these, remember them the galoshes?
Yeah.
Slippy things, right? And so go could give him a hand, and that's when I found out it was a drill sergeant. And the stretcher tipped, and rigor mortis had else there, and he actually fell on top of me, and it was a drill sergeant. But what I remember, once you had that big moustache, that was starting to thaw out. It was more scary to that than anything.
Forces TV.
By 0800 on June the 14th, the Argentinian defences had crumbled and Mount Tumbledown was in British hands, 11 hours after the main attack had started. The 2nd Battalion, the Scots Guards, had defeated one of the best Argentinian units on one of the best defended mountains at night and in appalling weather conditions.
There is a white flag flying over Sandy.
Very marvellous.
Fairly shortly after the conclusion of your part of the battle, the white flags start to fly over Stanley. Is this a joyful time for you? Is this a cause of celebration?
By then I was in Ajax Bay, and some guy stuck his head through the door and said, they've jacked it. That's how I found out. I was on table in Ajax Bay.
We're at the far end of Tumbledown, looking down into Stanley. You could actually see Stanley down there. We could see what was left of the Argentine prison actually running away, John. And we get told, stop. You have reached the end of your objective, stop. And then we start doing what we're normally doing, make myself preparations and everything else, I'll keep myself alive. Because anything could happen. Then what we heard, the surrendered in Stanley. We then spent the night on Tumbledown.
Was there a cause of celebration for the surrender? I mean, is it?
Well, in my case, I was on the Uganda, and the battalion padre came on and told me either that, considerably after this event had happened, my joy was not that the war was over, but that my battalion would not go on to further glorious victories without me being with them.
No,
Was it a relief to know that it was almost certainly over?
It was a strange feeling, because we were told we were getting ready at this time to go back and pick the drill sergeant up, because we had to leave him where he fell. So we were preparing to go and collect them. And then I think it was Colin Cool came over and said, the white flags are flying, that's it, unload, you know. And it was just a weird feeling, really, really strange, that you go from...
Is it almost an anticlimax?
Yeah, it's like being out training and everything else, and your DS come out with the right bands on and says, index unload.
But this is really, you've lost your friends, there's been people seriously injured. It's not an exercise.
I was still expecting a counter-attack, though. I really thought there would be counter-attack.
Well, that's why before we were told about the white flag and everything else, when we finished at the end of it, sort of like dig in if you want, and get yourself sorted out.
Well, the Argentinians that I've spoken to claim they did try and launch a counter-attack. Now, whether that is, propaganda on their behalf, because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't. When we cracked them, eventually they folded.
Yeah, they cracked Iran, yeah.
Do you think people outside the military would be surprised by what you guys have to do?
Yes, because they can't understand it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're lucky that they don't have to understand it in some ways. So I think we're lucky that we do understand it.
It's like we're, in some aspects, what we've been through, we come back into Civvy Street and it's like we're from a different planet.
Civvy Street.
They have not got that experience that we've had.
There's no uniformity.
No, because even what Robert and Right Flank were doing, Frank with G Company, Alan down with diversion and that, I'm learning bits now I didn't know. They're probably learning some about left flank.
You don't talk to civilians about your military.
You can't. You get some stupid questions.
Well, they don't know your mentality. We use short-term words, and when you're talking to a civilian, you're talking to them as if he's a lower class of people.
Because they won't understand.
No, they won't.
No, I attempted.
Not that they won't understand, John. They
They
don't.
can't understand.
That's it, brother. That's the
I attempted to talk because I felt very strongly that, generations will say, well, my dad was in the Second World War, and my dad was in the First World War, grandfather was in the First World War, and they never spoke about it. Well, in all honesty, they didn't have to. It was a world war, and 99% of everyone in the countries were involved in it. Everybody understood. There was national service, everybody understood. We've come back as aliens into a country that does not understand and cannot understand. The guys, I'm sure, from Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., can understand. People like yourself can understand. But we haven't returned to a country that was involved in a world war where everyone had a relative involved.
So the battle for the Falklands, 255 dead, obviously hundreds wounded. I think the Argentinians around 700 dead, thousands wounded. You guys on Tumbledown lost 10 killed, 53 wounded. These are your mates, your colleagues. These are the people that you work with, do you look back on that time with sadness or with pride, Dan?
It's a mixture of both, John. Sadness because of the guys that we lost. I mean, some of them were good drinking pals. I look at it as I'm lucky to be alive to come away from it. And I feel sorry for them who lost their loved ones. Mother, father, whatever. The battalion done its job, but it was, we knew there would be casualties. You don't know who the casualty is going to be. Proud to have done it, like the guys are saying. Yeah, we wear this with pride.
Gary?
Much the same as Danny. It's, I mean, I was 22 and it was a massive experience, and it's really affected the way I see life ever since that day. You know, it's again proud to have been involved, but again the losses that we had, and it's a sad thing of war, unfortunately, that you do have casualties.
Ozzy, you eventually lost your leg because of your injury.
Yeah.
Pride, sadness, regret?
It's a mixture of everything. Yeah, pride. I wouldn't have missed it. You know, even though, yeah, I was injured, I come back. If I hadn't have gone, lads that I joined up with, lads that are senior to me, like Danny, who I'd known a while, they'd have come back and I hadn't have gone, no, I wouldn't have missed it. Yeah, there's sadness, there's regret, pride, and as Gary said, it's a different outlook on life. You know, some things people start getting worried about and you just go, yeah, and just brush it off. There are times where you do have to stop and think. You try not to let it affect you. Some of us can, some of us can't. Each person's made differently.
Mm-hmm.
Alan, do you talk about your experiences with friends, family?
No. No. The only people I talk to is my fraternity, soldiers, my regiment. I don't talk to them. There's no need to know. They wouldn't understand. And I'm not going to waste my time, because it would be a waste of my time trying to explain something. And why would I want to? Is another thing, you know. We could chat about it because it's part of our persona and training and who we are, but to talk
It's a defining moment.
yeah, it's nothing for anybody else but us. It's kind of closed shop, really, if you will.
Robert, what's your abiding memory 33 years on?
I've got huge pride in the guys, huge pride in the regiment, huge pride in what we achieved. I would not change anything. I would go back and grateful to have had the opportunity to do the soldiering I did, and would take that opportunity again in a nanosecond. I am ashamed and disgusted at the way our politicians and our country looks after our troops, our returning veterans. I am ashamed and disgusted in all sorts of ways about that. So I have very mixed feelings. It has made me what I am. It has made my life what it is. It has ruined my life in so many ways. I am ashamed of my behaviour often in how its effects on me have affected my family and my loved ones, because I'm confused. I don't believe, I'm constantly told that black and white isn't the way the world is, that there's many shades of grey. It was easier for me when it was black and white. So people have suffered on, from my attitudes.
Not just the soldiers who suffer.
No, is it hell?
Was it worth it?
Definitely,
Absolutely essential.
definitely. Go back tomorrow.
And the people of the islands, look, do not get this wrong. 1,800 people living on the Falkland Islands had 11,500 foreign troops turn up armed to the teeth and told them how they were going to live their life. Made them kneel in their front garden and told them they would change the names of their streets and which sort of the road they would drive on and all sorts of crass things like that. And those people, like all of us here now, deserve the right to be protected. And we were just those guys that protect them. If we got jumped now by all sorts of Al-Qaeda coming in here to make a big deal, you would expect the SWAT team to turn up and sort them out. And you would be right as a British citizen to do so. And that's all we do.